Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And Movie Club is a show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it, kind of like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the Korean drama multiple award winner, Parasite. All of our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 2019, Parasite was directed by Bong Joon-ho and stars Song Kang-ho, Lee Sun-kyun, and Cho Young-jung. Sorry if we mispronounced any of those names. Greed and class discrimination threaten the newly formed symbiotic relationship between the wealthy Park family and the destitute Kim clan. It is currently number 35 on IMDb's top 250 and has a 4.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd and is ranked number 6 on its top 250. It was nominated for 2 Oscars for Best Production Design and Best Film Editing. It won 4 Oscars for Best Original Screenplay, Best International Feature Film, Best Director, and Best Picture. It's also worth it to note that this is the first international feature film to win the Best Picture Oscar. Before we dive into today's video, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning. We will be discussing plots, twists, characters, all that kind of stuff in this video. So if you don't want to know or haven't seen the film yet, make sure you watch the film first and then come back here. You're not going to offend us. Don't worry about it. And then stay tuned to the end of the show when you find out what the movie is for next week so you can watch it ahead of time as well. Alrighty, Kevin. So Parasite is a pretty big one. This is a big film with film buffs, with awards season followers, and just people who like film in general. Did you have any experience with this film at all before watching it for the show, or is this your first time?
This is my second time watching it, actually. I watched it when it first came out on streaming just because I wanted to know what the hype was about and what was around. And it definitely deserves Best Picture award. And if there was a Best Suspense movie category, this would definitely have won in 2019 because that's what this movie is. It's rags to riches, but how do you put a little twist on it, as I like to say?
Sure. Yeah. I originally, I obviously had heard about this through the Academy Awards. Parasite never really made it to our neck of the woods for theaters. I think it showed in a couple of the bigger theaters for 1 or 2 showtimes a day during awards season, and never got to actually see it until a couple years ago when we watched it actually on our podcast, the Drive Back podcast. And that was the first time that I had seen it. And yeah, this film is it's a masterclass in how to make a suspenseful film that keeps you guessing and keeps you riveted the entire time.
Mm-hmm. And then just the characters are perfect. Everybody has a point to this movie. Everybody has their own little unique twist on this movie. And I just like how he kind of fakes it till you fake it till you make it, something like that.
Yeah.
Is kind of this whole story is when his sister gives him the forged Oxford papers and stuff like that, just for him to get a job, period. But it's a well-paying job and stuff like that. So I just like, again, rags to riches with a little twist.
Yeah, and all those things lend into the central idea of this film. And I think a lot of people really don't know or don't understand what the title means for this film, Parasite. Did you pick up on that meaning at all, or?
It's just them leeching off of the rich, pretty much.
Yes, it's exactly. It's the Park family essentially being host to the parasites that are the Kim clan, in a manner of speaking. Obviously not saying that any human being is a parasite, but that's the narrative it's going for. And as we find out, it's also the original maid of the house and her husband as well. They're also in the same exact situation that, the the Kim family finds themselves in later in the film.
Mm-hmm. And that's what a twist that is. First of all, that when I first watched that movie, I was like, and the runtime is 2 hours and 11 minutes. I looked it up, and it does not feel like 2 hours and 11 minutes. This movie goes by so fast because of how when intrigued you are. And I guess sometimes when I watch movies with subtitles that I don't know the language to, like a foreign film, I tend to read it and then I'm like, oh gosh, this movie's halfway over already, because your mind is somewhere else while you're trying to read it but trying to look at the same time. So you're doing like multitasking, which I don't mind. I watch subs all the time or foreign films, but yeah, it's just I don't know where I was going with that.
I mean, hey, we're also no stranger to watching the occasional anime every once in a while. So it's like
Hmm.
you're used to like having to go up and down from subtitles to what's happening on the screen. And with that, let's talk about, I mean, we haven't really talked about directors much on this show yet, but Bong Joon-ho directs the crap out of this movie. It's gorgeous. Like I feel like
Hmm.
every shot, or not every shot, but like the iconic ones, the ones that people remember, obviously Mrs. Park walking up the stairs, everything having to do with the basement,
Hmm.
it's also beautifully composed
Hmm.
that it's hard to look away from, even obviously to read the subtitles. And what's really interesting though is that I feel, at least for me, I don't know about you, you almost don't really need the subtitles in certain situations because you know what's happening, you know what's going on. I mean,
Hmm.
anytime they're trying to hide from someone, like when the family's hiding underneath the sofa and the family comes home early, you know,
Hmm.
like you don't need to understand or read what the Park family is saying because you're in the exact same situation as the Kim family at that point, right? Like you're on edge and you do not want to be discovered, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is, and it he shows that intensity in this film as well. He makes the camera feel like cameras can't be scared because they're inanimate objects, but it feels like the camera is trying to hide with them as well. So it makes you feel like you're vulnerable, or that, oh shit, they're home early. We got to do something. And you get put into that situation, like you were saying, like you feel like you're in underneath the sofa and stuff like that when they're home and you're trying to sneak around and everything like that. And even there's some, not big shot, but I like to call them window shots, where they're looking inside of the house
Hmm.
from the outside, and you get to see everything happening behind and stuff like that. I love when movies do that because it gives you a big field of view to look at. So every time you look, there might be something else that's happening as well when you rewatch this movie.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much that like when you watch it the second time, I would say, obviously if you haven't seen the film, watch it the first time blind if you can,
Hmm.
because I will say I have a success story with this film where actually this is my third time watching the film. I actually showed the film to my mom, and she like usually every once in a while I find a movie where I'm like, this isn't something she'd usually like, and then she ends up loving it.
Hmm.
This was one of those instances. The only one other one I can think of is Joker, where she actually really enjoyed it, and she thought she wouldn't. Which is really funny because the marketing for this film, like if you watch the trailers and stuff, you really don't know what genre this movie is.
Hmm.
And honestly, until I watched it for the first time, I didn't know what it was because it just felt so like distinctively unique. And then
Hmm.
once you do watch it and you see everything that it's trying to say and what it actually is, you fall in love with it. But after that first time, you watch it again and you look for those little things. You look for the light
Hmm.
being done in Morse code. You
Hmm.
look for those little details, and it just makes the film so much more interesting.
Yeah, it does. And the the set for this movie, all of the sets are beautiful. I don't know if they went somewhere or they made it. If they made it, props to whoever who makes the set on Parasite, because that incredible. But it feels like you're you're down in the boonies with them at the beginning of the movie, and then you go to the straight to the top, and it feels like, when you watching it, it feels like you have done that with them, which is nice.
Yeah, 100%. I really think that it is something special about the film. The in the production design, which I think I said earlier. when we were talking about it, I didn't really think that it deserved it. And actually I would take that back, because it really does a good job in highlighting that obviously there's the obvious differences between the Park family and the Kim family, but
Mm-hmm.
like just their houses, their houses are almost characters of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Like the apartment for the Kim clan, when it starts getting flooded, or when the pest control comes by and they're like, no, wait, we need free pest control, to
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful modern home in I don't know exactly where in Korea this is, but like this beautiful modern home, which actually has some astounding visual effects. There's the shot where the son is showing up for the interview, and he's
Mm-hmm.
up in like that front yard, and he kind of looks around, and there's kind of like that tree hedge line in the background.
Yeah.
That's not actually there. There's visual effects that replaced that entire like background shot where he's looking that way, and then kind of the camera follows him to the right towards the house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All that background isn't there. It's actually like houses and stuff, but they used an
Hmm.
actual house and replaced that backyard so seamlessly. I remember um, Adrian and I on the live stream, we talked about the Corridor Crew. They do their visual
Mm-hmm.
effects artists react episode, and they talked about it, and some of their guys were like, wait a minute, that's visual effects.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Because it's seamless. I mean, I think when they're staring outside in the backyard and he's staring at the sky or at the blue sky, that's all CG
Yeah.
because of all the houses. Could if you told somebody that this was all made in a real house and like there's no CG involved, they wouldn't. They would be like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with this movie. There's no like glitches in it. There's no little pixelated stuff. It's flawless.
Nothing looks wrong. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
looks out of place, right? It looks perfectly composed and designed as it was intended to.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely, yeah. It's brilliant. I mean, and it's just it's gorgeous from top to bottom, and a lot of the sort of brilliance from this film is in its screenplay. And that kind of
Mm-hmm.
we'll kind of transition there, but this film was written so well. Like you said, it doesn't feel like it's 2 hours and 11 minutes. It really flies by, because it's almost like every scene is filled with tension, regardless if it's a tense scene or not. Everything feels like it's a powder keg about to blow until that last probably 20 minutes of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
when it just absolutely goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if you
And
saw any of that coming the original time. I didn't.
I think I got spoiled on it or something because
Oh
I
no.
I remember, but still, like I don't care if I get spoiled with a movie. Like
Hmm.
Nadia right now is watching American Horror Stories, and I'm asking her what's happening. She goes, I don't want to spoil it for you." I go, It's okay because I'll watch it on my own. I will still get that little anxiety or that oh shit moment pretty much because
Hmm.
I'm watching it on my own. I'm watching it through my eyes, so I can hear it, but like I think I knew about The Secret, but then I watched it like a couple months later, so I kind of forgot about The Secret.
Yeah.
So so that yeah, the ending was fantastic. I mean, the it all builds up and I'm waiting because I still kind of remember it. So I'm waiting. I'm like waiting, waiting. I'm like, bro, this movie's almost over. When is this going to happen? And then it just drops it on you.
Yeah. And it kind of leans into one of the other things that I want to talk about with this film is the violence, right? Like it's not glamorous. It's not it's
Mm-mm.
not it's not overdone where it's the most fascinating thing to look at, right? It's brutal, and it's done quickly for the most part. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, everything that happens with the poor, the original maid, I feel so bad for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and even the husband, the husband ends up going completely bananas. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I and I do attest that to the writing, or attribute that to the writing. I think it's
Yeah.
it's wonderfully done for them, and honestly, really well done. When you like in any other film, you'd think the Park family is the villain. You automatically think that the rich family is the villain. You
Mm-hmm.
think that the original couple who are violent and want to maintain their way of life would be the villain. But no, the Kim family are the villains in this situation.
Yeah, because they're the parasite. Pretty much, they're leeching off of this. But yeah, like you were saying about the dialogue or the writing in this movie, they could have left the maid's husband just be just a slap on the wall, like him just laying there the entire time. But you only see him for what, like 30 minutes of the movie, if not even that, and he still has an impact on this movie. Like I was saying before, every little details has an impact towards the end goal of this movie.
Yeah,
Even if it is just that husband that's in the basement, he still has something to do with this movie.
yeah. It every piece is positioned in just the right way to make sure that everything comes together. And again, from the script, from the way that it's shot, the way that it's designed, it comes together beautifully. And
Hmm.
that, I think, is why any like, there's I've certainly met a lot of naysayers that like, this film didn't deserve best picture. It's it's Korean. Like there's a lot of dismissal with this movie sometimes, and you really have to be like, no, this is probably one of the best movies of like easily of the 2010s,
Hmm.
but to come out in the last 23 years since the turn of
Hmm.
the millennium. Like it
Yeah.
is a truly, like, I used to take that very biased approach to like movies, right? Like I considered movies to be like, Transformers, like it's just there to entertain, or it's not very good or whatever. And then you have films which are movies, but they do something more, right? They try to contribute something. And then cinema was the thing that like pushed the medium
Hmm.
forward. And an older me would have, or a younger me, sorry, and a younger me would have considered this to be like cinema. But like, it's not. At the end of the day, it's just a movie that nails everything, and it is, you know, it's near perfectly done.
Yeah.
And
It
a lot
is.
of people that just kind of brush it off, really don't understand it. Like again, I bring the story back about my mom who was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch that movie." And then one day she got really courageous and she's like, "You know what? Yeah, I'll watch it." And then now she defends it to other people. It's so it's just wonderful that this movie can have an effect on people like that.
And it's nice too because I mean, I wasn't not looking forward to seeing this movie. I was just like, oh, it's just going to be another suspense movie that
Mm-hmm.
I may not possibly like, and it's from Korea. It's a foreign film. I don't necessarily, I don't mind watching foreign films, but sometimes they get a bad rep because it's not made in the USA, pretty much.
Which
And
is so unfair. First off,
mhm,
like
yeah,
foreign, like the international markets create some incredible films, and
hmm
it's just like there's that American denialism almost, where it's like,
hmm
no, it's
they
not
they
really a
can't
good
do
movie.
better than us. We're
When in
America.
fact, like on the whole, they probably make more meaningful films than we do.
Well, and if you think about it too, I know, um, going back to the CG thing, think about how if we did that in the US, those CG people would get like 2 days for that. To here, just put bushes on it. The Koreans probably gave them like a week, so they perfected it. They watched it over and over, and then that's how good it is. You can't. I was watching Corridor to Crew today, and I got really pissed off. But you can't give somebody a project and expect it to be done in a week when it's a lot of the movie is CG. You have to give the CG people time to take a look at it to make sure they're okay with it. Because the big companies will be like, yeah, just put it on the shelf, pretty much, and
Hmm.
that's not how it should be because some people are very passionate about their CG.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's an ongoing problem with the industry for sure.
Hmm.
But luckily, you get a film like this where the work is unnoticed because it's so good. Like,
Hmm.
and again, it's not in the film very much. There's not a whole lot of visual effects in
Mm-mm.
this film, or like special effects, like computer visual effects. there are visual effects in the film, like the makeup and all that, with the violence and the blood and things like that. But there's not a whole lot of computer generated imagery in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So and again, because there isn't, you don't expect there to be any, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really really well done in that regard. Before we dive into our final thoughts, though, I actually did want to share with you an interesting fact about this film. And in a way, to highlight something that we don't typically talk about, I think this film is edited very well. And again, because it doesn't feel like a 2 hour, 11-minute movie, is due a lot to its editing and making sure that it feels that consistent pace the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
What's really funny is that the editor for this film did receive an Oscar nomination for their work, but edited it in, let me forget the name here. The film was edited in Final Cut Pro 7,
Mm-hmm.
which is a program that Apple stopped supporting 8 years before this film came out.
Yeah.
And edited it all on a laptop, I believe. No, a computer that hadn't received a software update since 2014.
Jeez.
And he got an Oscar nomination. So kids, if you're out there wanting to become a film editor, you don't need the most expensive equipment. You can do it on anything.
Just put your mind to it, and it'll just come naturally for you.
Exactly. That's all it really takes. That, and obviously a heaping dose of talent. But now on to our final thoughts for this film. This is kind of a shorter video than normal, just because I think we don't really have anything but praise to talk about for this movie. Before we dive into final thoughts, though, do you have any criticisms of the film? Anything that you would necessarily say didn't work for you, or not really?
I mean, I would just suggest this is if we got a dub version instead of a sub version, so more people can enjoy this movie, because I don't think they don't have dubs here, right?
There is no dub that exists at this point. I'm going to go ahead and double check this real quick.
But I want more people to watch this. And if people are scared of subtitles and scared of reading, I would like for them to do a dub version, because it would put more eyes up on the screen, especially for a foreign film.
Any plans to do an official dub? The reason being that I guess the team behind the film has said that the audio mix and the audio quality and the performances would all suffer if they did a dub, which I 100% think is the truth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the film would suffer if it didn't, if it had an English language version. Which, I mean, there is supposed to be a Hulu miniseries on the way with Mark Ruffalo that's an American version of Parasite, which I don't know if I'm okay with that. I think the movie should be left as it is. The typical American coming in to try and ruin something foreign. But hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, no plans for a dub as far as I can see.
Okay. Well, I guess this is so short, this video, because 1, it's a great movie. 2, don't want to spoil a lot, because we want you to go see this movie.
Yes. And if you have Hulu, it's on Hulu. I think it's an Hulu exclusive almost for its kind of streaming presence. Obviously, unless you own the film like I do, then you can watch it that way. But yeah, please watch this film. Like, I would say of all the films, maybe except Silence of the Lambs, this is probably the first one that I think we're both saying, please watch this movie. Like, yeah. Like, if you're in any way into film, this is kind of like one of those recent. It's a masterpiece. It's a recent masterpiece that will really kind of show you what to be looking for in a film.
Just don't be scared of subtitles. I hate when people are scared of subtitles. It's another language that you just have to bear with, because you're going to miss out on a lot of movies that are subbed because you don't want to read subtitles.
Yeah, it's 100% right. Speaking of percentages, what did you end up giving this film as a final thought and score?
I give this one a 4.5. Now, this 4.5 is a 98 out of 100. Just because 90. See, like, now I'm going back, it could be a 99, it could be 100. But when I rewatched this again, I did see a little bit of repetitiveness and like a little, maybe not unnecessary, but like little scenes that were like, no, okay, maybe not, but still great, like you said, masterpiece of a movie, and especially coming from a foreign, I don't want to say land, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get you. For me, I also gave this film 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but that's because it has a 99 out of 100 for me. I said it's pretty much a near perfect masterpiece. You know, it quite hasn't hit 100 for me yet. I think after maybe another viewing or two, it might. So make sure you follow both of us on Letterboxd because those might change at any point. But yeah, I really think it is something truly special, and it's not something that we get a lot anymore. So
And then if you're in the, it won a Grammy, Oscar,
it's won 4 Oscars, yeah.
4 Oscars. If you're looking to start like your Oscar watching series, if you want to watch all like the best picture Oscars, I would say go with this one first, just to experience what a good modern movie is like.
Yeah, I would say it's between this and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think are two very, very good modern.
Haven't seen that one, so
Well, hey,
can't say it.
it'll probably come up on this show at some point.
Mhm.
So the question now falls to you: what did you think of Parasite? We'd love to hear your comments down in the description below, or the comment section below, not the description. Excuse me. But remember to be to be respectful of one another down there. Next week, we'll be covering the classic Chaplin comedy film, Modern Times. So make sure to watch it ahead of time if you don't want to be spoiled and get in on the discussion with us. Thank you again so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube and follow us everywhere on social media at Real Watchers. And until the next video, make sure to keep your eyes on the screen.